we're here with our mascot, the Story Dude. So please, like the video, subscribe to Story Dude, and let's get into the stories.
Am I the asshole for putting my husband's fancy knives through the dishwasher? So I, 28F, have, on occasion, put my husband's, 28M, dirty knives through the dishwasher despite him asking me not to. These knives are extra sharp for cooking, and apparently the dishwasher will blunt them. I am terrified of knives to the point where if I see them on the work surfaces, I will begin to panic. My husband is aware of this, and I never use these particular knives as I know I'm not allowed to dishwasher them. I can't face cleaning a knife by hand. If I have to use one, I will use one of my old knives that I put through the dishwasher. Now, my husband will use his fancy knives and leave them dirty either in the sink or on the worktop. They can be there for days, and just the thought of them being out terrifies me. I can't face cleaning them by hand, so I put them in the dishwasher to get them out of my sight. He is free at any point prior to the wash cycle, to remove and clean them by hand. He thinks I'm the asshole for putting them in despite him asking me not to. I think he's the asshole for leaving out dirty knives despite him being aware of my fear. We're actually a really good team and barely disagree on anything, but this seems to be an obstacle we cannot agree on. I need internet strangers to tell me who is in the wrong, if anyone. Please and thank you. Edit to add info. Yes, I am getting therapy. I get that my behavior and fear are abnormal. I also have OCD and general anxiety that will be negatively contributing. Also, my husband isn't a dirty gremlin or anything. He's genuinely so supportive, loving, and great around the house. It's just some sort of weird blind spot we both have. He does all the cooking now that we have a baby, so in fairness, I feel I should do the clearing up. He must not be that attached to his knives if he leaves them dirty for days. I have a few good knives and after use, I immediately wash them by hand, dry them, and put them away in their protective covers. Your husband should definitely clean up after himself. At the same time, you are so afraid of knives that you can't wash them by hand and the mere sight of them sends you into a panic. This is an issue that should be addressed with a mental health professional. Place a large, weighted utensil container near the sink. Dirty knives will live in it until your husband washes them. Everyone wins. But because no one is seeking a solution. Am I the asshole for telling my friend's girlfriend I thought she was a little fat? My best friend Nick, 22M, his girlfriend Marta, 22, and I, 21M, were hanging out in his basement after smoking a bowl together. She asked him unprompted, "Babe, do you think I'm fat?" Nick, being the dutiful boyfriend, responded, "Of course not, babe." She then turned to me and asked, "Op, do you think I'm fat?" Now here's the thing. I strive to be a very candid person. I will not hesitate to speak my truth because I believe it is almost always better to be frank with people than to tiptoe around what you actually feel. In my experience, avoiding the truth often leads to confusion and/or pain. Of course I don't want to be an asshole, so if I'm going to say something that I think could be taken poorly, I try to be as nice as possible while also remaining candid. Back to the basement. I don't find Marta very fat. I definitely wouldn't call her obese or anything, but a little chubby. Yes. I knew if told her this directly she'd probably get upset, so I asked her in response, "Do you want my honest opinion?" She said she did, so I gave it. My exact words were, "I'd like to preface this by saying that it in no way affects how I view you as a person. I don't think that weight is a good measure of who someone is." That being said, a little bit yes. She got really quiet and it was kinda awkward. I was about to leave anyway, so I went home soon after. Later, Nick texts me and says I really upset Marta and I owe her an apology for what I said. I don't think I did anything wrong. The way I see it, she asked for my honest opinion and I gave it. Just because she didn't like what my opinion was doesn't mean I was wrong to give it. Fishing for compliments doesn't always go the way you want it to. I've gone to other impartial friends, both men and women, to get their opinions and they've been pretty split, so I'm asking Reddit. Am I the asshole? Congrats, you're attempting to use a radical honesty ideology to pretend you don't understand subtext or social norms. This isn't new or groundbreaking or insightful. It's just pretending you don't know what it is to be rude. If you want to call Marta out for seeking reassurance or answers she doesn't actually want to hear, then figure out a way to do that honestly and kindly. But don't act like you didn't know perfectly well that you were pulling her up for compliment fishing, and develop a lies or pawn thing to justify it. You are the asshole. I strive to be a very candid person. I will not hesitate to speak my truth. Re-examine that philosophy. It's not the virtue you think it is. Everyone sucks here because tact is a third option beside lying and telling radical truth. But also, don't ask if you don't want to hear the answer. Edit. Thanks for all the upvotes and the award, my first. Am I the asshole for refusing to let my children go to their grandparents, my parents, anymore? Gonna try to make this short. Also on mobile, so apologize for formatting. I, 27 female, lost my husband in January 2022 while I was pregnant with our youngest. I've got 3 kids ages 6Y, 3Y, and 4 Malio. Both sets of grandparents help out a lot and I am very grateful for that. However, since I had the youngest, my only daughter, my parents have been pressuring me to date. I'm not ready for that yet. They've set me up for blind dates without talking to me. They've invited these people over without telling me. The list goes on. This I handled. However, when I picked up my kids from my parents' house yesterday, my oldest asked me why I don't want to give them another dad. That grandma had told him that I didn't care about them having a dad. I explained the best as I could that I wasn't ready and I wanted to be sure they were ready as well. After I got them into bed, I called my parents. I told them that they were way out of line bringing my kids into it and that they won't be visiting for a while. I've been getting messages nonstop from my parents, aunts, and uncles that they only want what's best for me. Now I'm wondering if I took it too far. Way too close to this. So am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Your parents have lost their minds. You just gave birth 4 months ago. You just lost your husband this year. You did the right thing, give them a timeout. Put them on an information diet. They don't have to know everything at all times. Slowly, over time, you can visit again, but for now you can't leave them there, clearly, since they are out of line with what they're telling your 6-year-old. They may have good intentions, but you know what the road to he is paved with, right? Good luck and stay strong. You've got this. When the time is right you will meet someone else, but you need time to heal physically, mentally, and emotionally. Absolutely not the asshole. I wouldn't let your kids be alone with them until you can trust them. And don't bring them over for supervised visits until you're ready. Is the oldest in therapy? If not, I'd highly recommend it to help him process losing his dad and any of the crap his grandparents told him. Am I the asshole for telling my dad and his family that my son's name is none of their business? My wife Bryony, 29 female, and I, 30 male, had our little boy last week. He's our first child. When Bree was pregnant we had talked about names and she knew I would love to name our child. We did not know the sex, after my mom who died when I was 8 years old. My mom's name works as a unisex name and we both loved a nickname for it, so we decided to go ahead with that as his first name. We did not announce the name until he was born, though we told my maternal grandparents beforehand. My dad and I not all that close. We've had our differences over the years and one of those has come up again. How controlling he is. It was always there but came up after he and his wife Jana had my half-sister. There was a whole argument about me being present for the birth because Jana's kids were going to be. How he saw it as a great bonding moment and important for me to witness. There was also stuff like don't mention mom around Jana or her kids. Don't speak to my maternal family members if Jana or her kids are in the house. Don't skip college and go for an apprenticeship, that's not what our family does. Don't move out at 18 if you're staying in town. He also tried to dictate mine and Bree's wedding. So fast forward to now. My dad brings the whole family over to meet my son and as soon as they hear the name it becomes clear they are not happy. My dad and his stepson tell me unless we'd name a future daughter Jana then my son's name should not be after my mom. Jana tells me how uncomfortable the names makes her. Her daughter, not my half-sister but her daughter from a different relationship, tells me the name takes my son right out of their family and places a wall up. My half-siblings say it's weird for him to be named after someone who isn't part of the family. This is all coming at me and I had to get loud for them to stop. I told them my son's name is none of their business and if they don't like it, they do not need to be part of his life. Cue arguing from everyone and I make them leave. My dad called back the next day alone and told me I was an ass for saying my son's name was none of their business and that they didn't have to be in his life. He said I am doing everything to make them feel like they don't matter and aren't family to me. He demanded I change the name. I told him to go to hell and stay away from us. Am I the asshole? He demanded I change the name. Tell your dad the next time he squeezes a watermelon out of his dick, he can name it whatever he likes. It's really thoughtful and lovely to pay tribute to your late mom by naming your newborn son in her honor. You could also just happen to like the name, and that's fine too. Not the asshole.